Hey guys, it's Vince. Today I want to discuss the option of adding relays to support your G540 digital stepper driver system. Now many of you already know that the G540 has outputs on its terminal block, their terminal blocks pins number 5 and 6, that actually support relays. But the issue has always been, how do you wire in the relays? I get that question all the time. I get questions on, I purchased the relays, but then I have to figure out how I can fit everything in my system, and I didn't realize there were so many wires that had to be split in order to wire everything. And I tried to make it an all-inclusive solution, and I believe I've come up with it, and I'm about to cover that real quick in what you see here with this terminal relay splitter that I've designed. Now, I wanted to actually design the kit to be all-inclusive. So that means your relays are included, the terminal splitter, of course, is included, all the GX16 3-pin panel connectors are included with the female connectors for your accessories, everything right down to actual wire ties and wire tie hold downs. This way, not only are you getting more value, but you're also getting everything that is required to add this option to your G540, which again, as we all know, I don't know why the industry isn't doing this, but again, there's a problem. I'm trying to solve it. That's what I do, and that's where we're going with this. So without further ado, I'm going to cover the wiring really quick. You know right here that you've got your output terminals that support the relays, again, 5 and 6. Well, as we come over here to this terminal block, and you can see what I did here is I actually used terminal splitters, and I used them in a 2-pin configuration format. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Why I did that again on a 12-point terminal block is to allow us to split the multitude of signals that are required to keep all of your wiring as neat as possible. And when I say that, guys, believe me, this one terminal block is all that's required to wire everything in for your relays, including the AC from the wall, which is your live, neutral, and ground. Then you're going to split off to your 48-volt 12.5 power supply. And then you're going to go from that right back into here to actually power the G540, power your relays, and also power the GX16 3-pin panel connectors that are included for your accessories. Okay, so what we're doing right here, you can see we've got terminal block or terminal output number 5 coming over here to the relay. Using the terminal splitter, we've joined pin number 1 and pin number 2 on the terminal block to function as one. Okay, because that's all a terminal splitter does, is it makes an individual terminal into multitudes of terminals doing the same thing. So just keep that in mind. So right here, you can see you've got your output for your G540, and this is the one going over to, of course, the first relay. Now, what most of you guys are looking at right here is seeing this other terminal, and you're probably saying to yourself, why did I leave that open? Well, I did that intentionally if you decided you wanted to add another relay to be triggered under output number 5 and under output number 6. You both have these terminal outputs, both are left open to add an additional relay to be triggered under either signal. Now, some of you are saying, why would you want to trigger a relay, or I should say multitude of relays, under one signal? Well, the question is, until you figure that out, it's nice to have that option, because I do offer a terminal splitter kit in my store. I try to combine 2 products in one, because when you purchase this, a lot of times you may come into an environment where you think, you know what, it'd be really nice to be able to have this switch on with this. And in this situation, you can do it without any more extensive wiring to your G540. So the option is there, and we'll cover later, adding that option in later on because it is available. So needless to say, you can see what's going on here. We're taking terminal block 5, or excuse me, terminal block pin number 5. We're coming over here, and there's the signal again that's actually triggering your output on this relay. Then over here, on output number 6, it's the same exact principle. Now, guys, don't get confused by the wiring. If you can wire one relay, you can easily wire 2. The wiring is essentially the same. Okay, what you see over here, though, is where it gets hairy, because a lot of guys don't factor in you need your 48-volt power getting run to your relays. Well, you can see how this works right here. You're going to take a terminal on your 48-volt power supply, preferably the 12.5 amp version, and you're going to run it right over here. Okay, now when I said all-inclusive in this package, you are getting circle ring connectors, and the reason I'm including the circle ring connectors are they are really the safest method as far as connections. I still always look at safety whenever I design something, and once that screw goes through that hole, it's not being removed even if it comes loose. So again, that's why I chose them, and again, they are included in the kit. And you can see what's actually coming over here. We got the 48 volt input going in here, and then of course it's coming out over here. It's feeding your G540, and it's also feeding the power inputs on your actual relays. So you can see right here, first one's up, going to the first relay, and of course the second one then feeds your secondary relay. As we come over here, we start getting into our live, neutral, and ground. Now this is where we split the power coming off the wall. So you can see you got your AC coming in from the wall on these terminals, and you can pick whichever ones you'd like, but your AC will be coming in, so you got your live on the bottom, your neutral right here, and then your ground. Now you do support 2 outputs for each, so you got your live coming in, your live going out, which then comes wired over to your 48 volt power supply. Then you've got your neutral coming in, and then your neutral going out once again to your 48 volt power supply, and then your ground coming in, and your ground going out once again to the 48 volt power supply. Now once that's completed, you're going to go and you're going to wire in your live outputs for the 120 going to your COM on your relays. Okay? Now, most of you guys already know this, but when you think about how much wiring is involved, and this one terminal block is actually splitting everything and putting everything in a centralized location, this simplifies the entire wiring process just extraordinarily. I mean, usually you'll be running a multitude of wiring. You can see how many different splits you'd be dealing with. Doing it this way, it just simplifies everything. You can see wiring in the relay there, and then again coming up here and then wiring in the other relay if you choose. If you only have one relay, this wiring even gets simpler. So again, everything is neat and organized, and again, the relay's actual faceplate, when you go and click on the link if you want to review the price of this kit, you will see I even graphicked it. So everything is labeled. You don't have to guess. Very, very simple. And the actual terminal block is utilizing toolless mounts as well as the relays for ease of service, ease of mounting. I wanted to keep, again, everything as simple as possible. So you can see basically all we're doing with this terminal block is we're creating a power panel, essentially. That's where it's splitting all of the signals. And once again, a lot of guys never factor in their connectors. I chose connectors that are industrial rated. Again, GX16 aviation connectors, they're 3 pins. These are screw lock connectors. They don't fail. They're definitely the top rated connectors in the industry as far as this is concerned. And again, very, very simple to hook up. You can see I just did one wiring schematic for a single GX16, and the reason I did, of course, is like I stated earlier, if you can wire one relay, it's going to be redundant wiring for the second. It's exactly the same. I just did this for illustration purposes. So you can see right here that you've got your normally open, which is again is going to be your hot. That's going to actually give you your hot, which goes to pin number 1 on the GX16. And then over here, where your neutral is, now you can see where that split came in handy. It then splits over to pin number 2 for your neutral, and number 3, which is your ground, and then it comes over here. So all of this terminal block is being used to essentially split all of the multitudes of signals to keep your wiring as neat and as organized as possible. And again, like I covered with you, if you do decide you want to add additional relays to be triggered under the single pin 5 or 6, you can see that all these are being used. All we would do is add an additional terminal block. So if you message me and say, hey, I need 2 of them, you can get 2 of these blocks and you can wire in. You can move the pins and the jumpers wherever you need to wire them in correctly so that you can support the additional outs for the actual relays for as many as you'd like to wire. There's endless possibilities here, guys, and I can't emphasize that enough. I wanted to make this kit simple, all-inclusive, and just to show you just how easy this is. Once you break this down and see for yourself how fast and simple this is, especially only having to wire one centralized location where a wire goes in, then it comes out, then it goes in, then it comes out. It's a much, much easier process than the multitudes of, wiring junkies that I've seen where wiring is going in every direction and then you don't know what's getting wired to what. And again, that's why I included pro-grade graphics. They are laminated once again in 3M 8518 to make the images really pop and make it look as professional as it should be, because again, this is an option that will save you a ton of time. Looking at it from this perspective and looking at it where, again, you're looking at the wiring going in and out so many different times, once you have this laid out in front of you and have your system laid out, and considering the fact everything is toollessly mounted, nothing could be easier to wire once it's there. Now, I prefer These connectors you can either use crimp or solder. I prefer soldering. Some guys don't. Again, I'm old school. Soldering is definitely the way to go. Again, with flux, using heat shrink, you're golden. You will never ever have problems. The connectors that I'm including for the relays, they are not insulated because I prefer soldering. Now, you guys may not. You can always change the connectors. However, mine are included with the kit and they do require soldering. So that's just something to keep in mind. I do have guys always message me, do you really need to insulate them? I insulate everything. You never know. And for safety purposes, I know a lot of guys don't, really go into depth on that, but I want everything that I offer you guys to be as safe as possible. I want you to be as safe as possible. Nothing is worth you or your family's life or well-being. So please take it serious. Even if you are wiring, DC. I know a lot of guys laugh at 48 volts. Please don't, because any of these voltages can easily start a fire if everything is not done correctly. So it's very serious. But overall, again, very, very simple process. You can see where the signals are all being split. There's the first relay right here, second relay right here. This would be for output 5, output 6. The 48 volt power being split where it comes in from the power supply, and then it actually gets split 3 times. It goes one to the G540 for pin 11 on its power, which is the positive terminal on the G540 for power, and then over here again for your relay, your first relay, and then over here again for your second relay. Okay, that would be 3 wire runs right there alone. So think about that. I mean, you've literally reduced all your wire runs because it's all centrally located. Then over here, same exact principle with the ground. You got a wire coming in and then 2 splitting out, and you're done there. Okay. Again, pending, you would only have 1, of course, pending if you had 1 relay and so on and so forth. The second relay would require its own ground. But overall, you get the picture of exactly how this is wired in. Again, a lot of guys are asking, why didn't you've got 2 relays here, why didn't you wire in the ground? And why didn't you wire in the neutral? I just wanted to create the illustration on 1 relay showing the connector hooked up because it's redundant. So remember, if you can wire one, you can wire the other. Overall, like I said, the kit will now be available. It'll make everything, I think, a lot easier. For guys with plasma systems, dealing with torch height controls and dealing with the option to turn on their actual head, they're going to be looking at this immediately. I know that. It's going to make their lives a lot easier. And again, the only thing in this kit I did not include, of course, is the wiring. And the main reason I didn't is because I don't know what lengths you'll need. So if you message me, if you want to include wiring, if you want it, whatever you want to include, again, I'll do my best to support you. But once again, I wanted this to be an all-inclusive solution. I think it is. And again, as many of these solutions as I can come up with, I will, because again, I'm as frustrated as you when it comes to trying to understand why, I understand a relay is offered because by itself, typically because we don't know what the application is. In this situation, when I see people selling relays for these drives, it makes no sense to me because they should know what actually is all-inclusive. The other thing I want to point out is that the GX16 3-pin panel connectors that come with it, it also comes with the female plugs that go to them for your accessories. So that means if you have to, you'll cut off the typical accessory plug. Now, some of you guys may want to use, the typical 110 volt plastic snap-in outlets. I use them myself. For these applications, I don't recommend it. If you're adding a relay in, again, the GX16 is the safest form. It does take a little more time because you do have to wire it in, but it's totally worth it. And again, you're getting the female plugs with it. You're getting the panel mounts. You're getting the relays. I can offer it in 1 and 2 configuration format, and everything else is inclusive, so you're set to go. If you guys have any questions about this, again, be more than happy to answer. Again, my email is storm, STORM 2313@gmail.com. You can also message me on my eDealers Direct store on eBay. Again, I'm getting busier now, so peak season is coming. I'm trying to keep up with everything. So guys, please be patient, but I will get back with you as soon as possible. Thank you all for your support.